Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 10:47 a.m. on the 4th of October 2023. It's a scathing hot morning. I've been awake since 8 o'clock, which is unusual. I woke up at 8 o'clock yesterday too. So, the body's wanting to be activated and live her best life, and that includes waking up, earlier and being activated earlier than usual. Well, I am quite tired still. So I'm making this video. I had my hair done yesterday, so I look a lot better than I did in my previous video with all my dark roots and feeling quite icky mentally, working through the sludge as I do on a daily basis and have done for 58 and a half years. I'm off for my debrief with my psychiatrist today, so that's good. I see him every 2 weeks. Anyway, I wanted to make this video. Where is she? Where's the little bugger? Here she is. There she is. She's very smoochy and wanting attention today, although she just gave me a little nip, which is why I went, ouch! No bitey to mama! No biters to mama! You little demon bird! She goes, but I love you, mama. I like to bite you. Just to remind you that I'm here. And I'll give you nibbles as well. And I want kisses and cuddles. She's very clingy today, which is because yesterday I had her out in the garden most of the morning, and then I went off and I had to be there at 1:15 for my hair appointment, and then I was gone a few hours for that, and then by the time I came home it was late afternoon. We didn't even have a walk, Charlie. We didn't have our walkies. But anyway, and I was quite tired, and basically I sort of brought her in and put her in her inside cage and put her to bed early. I think it was about 5 o'clock I put her to bed. But then I got busy fussing with my necklace that I'm remaking for the 12th or 13th time. And so then I kept going in her room and waking her up, which was very annoying, wasn't it, Charlie? I was putting things away and driving you a bit nuts. And that was the only really interaction she had yesterday from me, was me waking her up a couple of times during her early somnolent evening. So today she's like, Mama, I want to play with you, Mama. I want to play with you. I want cuddles and kisses. I want to play with my mama. And I get it, Rainbow lorikeets fly in very large flocks, and they're used to being, quite promiscuous, although she's not. She's very asexual like me, but that's because we're weird. And maybe not weird, maybe just wary after decades of trauma with awful people. But anyway, she doesn't engage with the wild birds when they come with their flirting and their frottering. She's a one mama bird, aren't you, Charlie? Yes, you are. You're a one mama birdie. You only have eyes for mama. It's very sweet, but it's a bit weird. So the wild birds can't understand why she doesn't want anything to do with them. And but I understand. I understand completely. So anyway, so it's all very lovely. And what was I going to say about that? There's something else I was going to say about that. So anyway, never mind. So she was very smoochy with me. She's very smoochy with me today. I actually was sitting here to try and get some shade because it's so blinking hot in the garden, and she was over there under the table, and she walked across and climbed up the steps to be next to me, which is very, very lovely. Yes, because Charlie, when she wants to be with Mama, she lets Mama know in no uncertain terms. She just comes to get me. There's a metaphor for life in that. Yes. Maybe if I could find a human man that was maybe not too stalkerish, but let me know that he was genuine. It's been very hard to tell if anyone was genuine in the last 13 years because they weren't. They really weren't. So, but anyway, here I am with nice hair, feeling glamorous and ready for my dancing on Friday. I hope I feel well enough because I'm still very fatigued and a bit under par. I only had to get up twice during the night last night, so that was a reasonably good night. And I was very creative yesterday and the day before that, so I've pushed myself along quite hard, which is why I'm tired. But yes, I'm thinking Friday night, Charlie. Alter egos are playing, Charlie. Yes, you'll be asleep in your cage and Mummy will be dancing wildly while you're doing the sleepy birdie thing. What do you think of that? She goes, you traitor. But at least I don't feel quite as bad as like when I used to go dancing all night and leave my dog home alone. Because I used to really feel torn, you know. Jared used to joke about that I had this invisible umbilical cord, but my animals would pull on me and make me come home. I had that with my previous dog, Bella Rosa, the Pomeranian. I couldn't even go to the shops. After about an hour, I'd feel this invisible pull, you know, literally on my solar plexus going. And I could actually sense her anxiety, and I'd be like, I have to go home, my dog needs me. And Jared would go, that's just so nuts, Tanya. But it's like, it was fully spiritual. I was so bonded and connected to that dog. She was a beautiful dog. And I was bonded and connected to Beauregard, but not to the same degree of, you know, feeling that I had to run home straight away when I went to the shops. But having said that, going out dancing for 4 to 5 hours, I'd feel so guilty, and then I'd come home and he'd be like, oh Mama, here you are at last. And he was just such a beautiful soul, and he just loved me so much. And you know, I miss him terribly. He was a wonderful dog. He could be difficult and cantankerous and didn't like other dogs much, had his own trauma issues, but he was a lovely dog. I really did love him, and he loved me. And it came up in my memories because every morning I transcribe my writings that I've put in over the years on Facebook. I copy them across to, I'm now storing them all in one place in Vocal Media. And so I have everything all in chronological order from the current date right back to sometimes as far back as 2008. And I preserve it all very carefully and a bit obsessively. The good, the bad and indifferent. Some of the things put me in a bit of a bad light, quite frankly, when I write about my altercations with people. But I was always in the right, like by and large. There were some really awful malfeasant things that used to happen on that dance floor at the Treasury Casino. And I used to arc up about it because it's not right to treat people badly when they've done nothing wrong, but, you know, pay for their drinks and go dancing. It's actually really degrading how I was treated over the years when I think about it. But I always soldiered through and carried on right up until just after Beauregard died, when they turned savage again. I was like, that's enough now. I've had enough of being kicked like a whelped and whipped dog when I'm down, grieving my animals. No. So no regrets. I'm moving on. I'm rebuilding my life from ground zero. I'm still making my jewellery. And I'm really not feeling terribly well at all, physically and emotionally a bit wrung out as well. But I'm okay. And look, how can you not be okay when you have this little gorgeous one to love you no matter what? You know? It's like, who needs the humans, Charlie, when we've got you? She says, Mama, you do need the humans. You belong to a big flock. There's 8 million of you flocking around, being quite frankly flocked and unflock worthy, and you just sit on the margins of society living your best life, Mama T, because you was a happy mama. They always told you that you were a misfit and depressive and malcontent and negative, but really all along they didn't know it, that you was a happy mama. And you fight for your right to be happy and partay and dance and and deify. And you've got courage, Mama T. You've got cojones. You've got the guts. And you've got the glory. And I love you. I was thinking, you know, we were talking, my hairdresser and I and another client, about the COVID and how awful it is. And one client came who's been very ill. She's had what she thinks is long COVID. I think is actually the result of the vaccine. She had 4. And now she has this chronic permanent nausea and can't eat much. So she's lost 29 kilos. 29 fucking kilos. That's an entire person. Like a child, like about 11-year-old child, isn't it? Well, anyway, it's a lot. 29 kilos. And I said to her, well, you look fabulous, but I'm sorry that you feel so ill and can't enjoy food anymore. And she's like, she said, yeah, if it weren't for the nausea, she said, I would feel fabulous. And, you know, it's just so bizarre. So I asked her, I said, you know, were you vaccinated? She said I had 4. But she's in denial, and she's blaming the side effects of being nauseous all the time, feeling ill all the time for the last 6 months on long COVID. And I'm just staring at her, because we all know that that's one of the adverse reactions. But I thought, well, I won't go there and upset her, because it's already upsetting enough. And I said to her, you know, I've been ill with one thing or another since birth all my life. And I said, when it came to this, I knew we were going to all be, you know, vulnerable and under attack, and we would all, one by one, be affected by it, that no one on planet Earth would be left unscathed, not even the unvaxxed, you know. And unfortunately, I was right about that. And then it occurred to me this morning, it actually occurred to me yesterday evening. I had a flashback of a memory of a fortune teller telling me many years ago. We're talking probably 20 or 25 years ago. She said to me, and I just thought it was gobbledygook and nonsense, because sometimes fortune tellers that you go to, you know, they're charlatans and they talk crap, you know. No, that woman was absolutely accurate. I wish I could remember who she was, because I need to see her again. But she said to me, there's something coming in the future and I can't see what it is. It's like I'm not being shown exactly what it is. I had a few readers say that over the years. Like they said, there's this thing, it's a big secret, and we're not being shown what actually is causing it. That's interesting when you look back in hindsight 2020, right? Literally to 2020. And they said, but whatever it is, it's going to infect the entire planet. And they said it's going to impact our health. And she looked at me and I said, sure. I said, what is it? Like, I thought the worst. Actually, I thought it was a nuclear holocaust. She said, no, it's not a nuclear bomb. But she said it will affect everyone across the entire planet. And I remember thinking, is this one of these doom and gloom doomsayers that make up stuff just to feed off, you know, loose feed off the fear and the trauma and the horror? Because there's a lot of people out there in the world that just get sexual frisson and a vampiric type feeding. I call it loose feeding. They feed on other people's misery. They get some kind of excitement or arousal or stimulation from it. It's actually quite perverted and evil. But, you know, that's what we've come to now with our world. It really is like that. It's us and them, and the haves and the have-nots, and the healthy and the unhealthy, whereas by and large, even the healthy ones are living in fear of when's the other shoe going to fall now, because we've all been manipulated and interfered with. physically, you know. So this fortune teller said to me, she said to me, you know, she said, all your life, she said, you've had very poor health. I can see that. And she said, she also looked at my palm, and she said, you had a very difficult childhood. Like, technically, she said, you should not have survived your childhood. And I nodded, you know. And she said, and all your life, people have looked at you like you were just not on the same page. Like you were just othered because of your health issues. And I said, yes, I've been bullied and marginalised and systemically abused since infancy. It's been heinous. She said, well, I want you to know, I was thinking about this only last evening. It hit me. It was horrific in a way, but it hit me. She said, I want you to know, she said, there will come a time when this thing that affects the entire planet comes about, she said, when instead of you being the odd one out, the black sheep, the weird one because of your health and always being judged harshly, like, why haven't you succeeded, why haven't you made it, because of my illnesses and, well, my trauma as well, impacting on my health, but also impacting on my ability to succeed and thrive, right? She says, for the first time in your life, she said, you will find yourself in a rather unique position. I said, oh yeah, what's that? She said, everybody will suddenly comprehend you and get you and have compassion for you and actually relate to you and actually be on the same page. And she said, but it will come as a result of this disaster, this tragedy. And I was like, I don't know if I want everyone to be on my page. I actually quite like being the odd one out, the oddball, the other, you know, the one holding her ground against all odds while everyone else lost their heads and ran around with their heads cut off like chickens in a backyard. Charlie says, don't mention headless chickens. I'm not going to be a headless chicken, Mama. No, you're not. You're not ever going to be a headless chicken because you're my baby and I love you. And you are on my page, Charlie. You fell in love with me at first sight, Charlie. When you were living with Jenny and Rhiannon, you were in the cage and I went to visit and you were like, who are you? Who are you? And you did lots of this looking at me. And then only a couple of weeks later, they gave you to me. And you've been a free bird ever since. Yes, free bird. Running around the back garden. Sometimes climbing in the trees when I put you in the tree. Sometimes, playing with Beauregard. We miss Beauregard, don't we? Where's our Beauregard? He's in heaven. Where are the cats? They're in heaven too. So it's just you and me, Charlie. You and me, kid, against the world. But we're not against the world. We wanted the world to be safe and healthy and happy. We didn't want them to get poisoned and get invaded by weird biological lab-grown entities. We didn't want the demonic influences. We didn't want the awfulness. We really didn't want that, Charlie. Oh, you're snuggling up, Charlie. It's not what we wanted for the people, Charlie. We wanted them to be like you, free bird, safe in their homes when they go to sleep at night in their little bed, or in your case, in your inside cage. And safe when we go dancing, and safe when we go to work, and safe when we go to the movies, and safe when we go whatever we wanted to do. We wanted to be safe and happy and surrounded by our loved ones and nurtured and protected and guided and inspired and loved. Did I mention loved. I know, because it's all very awful what's gone down with the world. But anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, it came to my mind about that fortune teller years ago telling me that eventually everyone would resonate with me, harmonise with me, and understand my, my outrageous slings and arrows of outrageous malfeasance and misfortunes, and my fierce defiance to thrive even at this, oh, don't you bite me, even at this late stage of life. And I thought, how weird that I haven't thought about that woman's message for 20 years, 25 years even, and suddenly it all sort of pops back into my head. The memory is crisp as yesterday, and I was like, I must remember. Oh, don't chew the necklace, Charlie. I must remember that I've felt very much under attack in recent months. It's been awful. Actually, when I say recent months, it's actually been since January, since I went to that hospital and sought out treatment, was told to go home to die. I felt very vulnerable and cast aside and left for dead. And I felt that way. I felt othered. I felt discriminated against. There was the foul discrimination at the Animal Welfare League with Beauregard's dying. Well, he soon to be euthanised, but they told me it was hopeless, which I even have my doubts now that was another lie. But we're taught to trust the professionals and the authorities. Anyway, I made the decision to let him go because it was just so traumatising and it was so vicious, and frankly I wasn't coping, and I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to pay for expensive surgeries that may or may not have saved his life. So it came down to, and the way they went about it, screaming in my face constantly, are you going to pay for this, are you going to pay? It was disgusting how I was treated. Absolute discrimination and venality. So there was that. And then, of course, a few short weeks later, being discriminated against again, harassed out of the casino by security staff, and that would have come from higher orders in the management. And being told that I'm not 5-star enough for the new venue. I mean, who do they think they are? It's just crass. Quite frankly, I should go to the Anti-Discrimination Commission and start a case up. And you know what? I have a case. They would have to pay me. Probably a large amount of money for what they've put me through in recent months. But, I'm too busy focusing on staying alive with my freaking bladder. I was going to say, what's the Garbo man doing here? But it's Wednesday. So, yes, it's quite right that the garbage man is here. I got lost in space for a moment. So anyway, I can't be bothered fighting these creeps anymore. But they owe me thousands of dollars after 13 years of, came up in my memories again, how I had to fight for myself on that dance floor when some big burly man went to attack me in 2019. And yet again, I had to hold my ground and defend myself against a big burly, gigantic Pacific Islander man who was threatening me, and a nice Muslim African refugee man. I mean, it was just awful. Anyway, it's all documented. It's all documented in my vocal media. It's all there. If I wanted to start a case, all I have to do is bring up my writings and it's all documented. But I don't trust lawyers. I've been let down by lawyers dozens of times when I was in absolute distress and dire need. So I can't really frickin' be bothered anymore. I'm too exhausted and too broken down by it all. Even my psychiatrist having to fight and pay out of his own pocket for me to see a urologist to try and keep me alive. Even that is a wonderful gift from him, but it's an absolute slur on our society that women like me are marginalised and left for dead, literally left for dead. It is complete and utter genocide what's going on, and once again I'm standing by my truth, holding my head up high with my little birdie, fighting every day of my life to stay alive and potentially thrive. So how did I thrive yesterday? I made my necklace, remade my necklace. Oh, I'll show you my necklace I've remade. Oh, honestly, I'm so tired. I'm just so tired. My hairdresser admired my beautiful dining table, which you saw in a photo yesterday, and it is beautiful. Like, I have worked hard in the last 8 years or so, even more, to make my life beautiful. I worked so hard and tried so hard with limited resources and very limited support, except for my few true friends and my psychiatrist. Very limited support. I've done this all by myself, people. So I can be proud of myself, Don't you poo on mama? Or you want to go up on your cage? Up on your cage you go. No? I thought you want to go up on your cage. You're reaching for the cage. Alright, here we go. So, let me show you. Sorry, I've got to get this right because I can't turn the freaking camera around. It drives me mental. So here's my necklace. I finished it last night, except for finishing off the end because I had to cut off the needle off the end of the thread. Where is it? I couldn't thread the silver finishing wire I had on, which is there. It was too thin. Didn't fit on the thread, and yet it fitted on that one, which is bizarre. It makes no sense why it wouldn't fit on this, but I didn't have the wire attached, so maybe that was the problem. So I had to order. It's being delivered hopefully in a few days' time. I had to order some more finishing wire in a slightly larger size so I can do this, put the wire loop on and put the where is it? Put the other side of the clasp on with the jump ring. I think these jump rings are too big. I don't like them. I'm going to make smaller ones. They just look too chunky. Oh, where are they? Sorry. Yeah, it's too big. I don't like it. So I'll make a slightly smaller one. And anyway, but I'll attach that and that. And then it's done. But I tell you what I did do that I'm really happy about was whenever I wore it, how can I show you? The skulls would spin around and be in like all sorts of weird angles and face the wrong way, and it used to drive me a bit nutty that it wasn't perfect. I was forever wearing it and twisting them to face the right way. Like with my Viking earrings, I've designed them to spin around, but one's facing the right way and one's facing backwards. But I don't mind that with those because I did that on purpose so they could twirl around and you have the sensation that you're at sea and the ship's moving, right? Just my mad idea about that. But anyway, but what I did last night took me a bit of doing was I glued with super glue these skulls and the little wings together, so they do still swivel, but at least they're together, and they're more likely to stay facing forwards now. That was the plan. Although see that's back to front, isn't it? So anyway, I glued those three together with the skull.